So let's get started with our first module. And we're calling this building value, how you prepare to get to the table. So let's start with this, James. What role would you say that technology plays in building value when I, as a middle market business owner, am preparing to approach investors?
Great question, Adam. So it's really a three-parter. It's your IT leadership, it's your work processes, and it's your IT infrastructure. It's about optimizing those 3 points. So people, IT leadership, you've got to have a top-notch person there. They're going to be put to the test as you start approaching this. Your work processes, I'm talking about getting the financial, the customer, the employee data out of your system smoothly, efficiently, and most important, accurately. And your IT infrastructure, I'm talking about your network, your cloud applications, all of your on-premises solutions. As you're approaching building value, IT plays a fundamental role in getting the right information into your hands to make the right decisions, and more of a transformational role in the long term of giving you a competitive advantage.
Sean, given what James just said, as you know, the money side, the investor, do you look at the IT infrastructure that a company might have when you're making these decisions?
Oh, absolutely. If the IT isn't there or the technology is it's not up to snuff, I mean, you're going to actually have to spend that money anyways. So you want to make sure that that's already in place. And if it isn't, that could definitely be an issue.
What about you, John? Does this come up from time to time when you've been at the table with firms where they were either over-prepared, prepared, or under-prepared?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would echo what Jim and Sean said. A lot of building value is about just getting the most out of the assets that you currently have in place. And part of that is, in this digital age is the technology systems that you have. If you're not able to leverage those systems to have, quick reporting and efficient processes, you're not getting the most out of your assets.
Lami, when you're helping companies prepare for their due diligence, and we're going to have a whole module on that, but is IT really a part of that process?
Well, absolutely. I think the financial reporting tools they have is very crucial for performing our diligence. So we pretty much try to understand, do they have QuickBooks, what exactly do they have from a financial reporting perspective, and also some of the other tools they've integrated to make sure we can actually pull out the data and start to analyze it. So absolutely, IT is very crucial. So from my perspective, I focus on the financial diligence. And as Jim mentioned, there's a separate IT component of a diligence that would have to look at as well.
So James, I'm a business owner. I need to improve my IT landscape. I come to you. What is it that your firm provides, and how does that help me? And how long should I prepare for this kind of work? Is it something that happens in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years?
It depends on the nature of the problem. All right, how far you want to go. But you would come to Freeman Clark for IT leadership. We sit at the table, and the most important thing I can stress on this call is we listen to the president and the CEO's business strategy, and we map the IT systems to support that. That is the critical element. So if you're a B2B company, and we saw this so much during COVID, and you really want to be a business to consumer company, IT needs to be prepared to make that pivot for you. So that we saw this in the food and beverage category during COVID. The CEO went down to IT and said, we need to shift. We need to start selling direct to consumers. And IT was ill prepared. So Freeman Clark provides the leadership, listens to the CEO, and then makes the transformational roadmaps to get it done. It could be as little as 6 months, or it could take up to 2 years, depending, Adam, on the state of the company and their IT infrastructure.
I want to go to the money side of this. Let me start with you, John. It's more than just IT. It's also about cash flow. So when you come to the table, tell us more about what you're looking for in those metrics.
Yeah, I think it's really just about understanding the nature of the business and understanding, again, historically, what it's been able to generate as far as EBITDA and cash flow goes, and also going forward, what the business is going to be able to generate Because at the end of the day, that's really where value comes from is the cash that's produced by the company. We prefer to look to the business itself for returns versus looking to the market and for multiple expansion and things like that to achieve returns.
Sean, is depressed cash flow necessarily a red flag for you as a potential investor?
Yeah, it's one of these things where when I'm dealing with a family business owner, I want to make sure that their in-house finance team is up to the level that they need to be, because you need to be able to communicate what your cash flows are, what your CapEx looks like, and so forth. And a lot of times it requires an additional person to be hired, or when I look at sort of the accounting firm that they're using, if they're not up to the level that they need to be, I'll turn to like an Anchin and Lamy and so forth, because you have to be able to communicate it effectively.
So Lamy, we just heard Sean mention communicating effectively and perhaps cleaning up books in a way that show the positive side of what your cash flow is really doing. If I come to you, what is Anchin going to do?
It's exactly what Sean mentioned. So if you come to me, well, it depends on when you come to me. If you have your IT infrastructure in place, your cash flows already in the green, then it makes things a little bit easier. But if that's not the case, you probably should try to reach out to a diligence advisor probably a year or two in advance and make sure that you start to put your ducks in a row. But what I'll do is essentially prepare for sale in the sense that we organize the data. We perform something called a quality of earnings analysis, which would pretty much normalize the EBITDA and the cash flows that Sean and John had mentioned, and make sure that you have the kind of right valuation that you're expecting in your business. So pretty much that's what we do at Anchin.
James, let me bring this to you. Does a fractional CIO, wouldn't I want a full-time person, or what's the benefit of having someone who's going to customize what I need, but on, I guess, a part-time basis?
The benefit of part-time basis is many mid-sized businesses can't afford or don't need an expensive CIO, CTO. We have a Freeman Clarkson principals with some terrific experience, and working on a part-time basis 1 or 2 days a week, we found most ambitious mid-sized businesses, that's all they need. We say 1 or 2 days a week, but of course they're available they're a phone call away, and we can gauge the time. They may start 2 days a week, and ultimately, as the IT systems start rolling, we can replace ourselves, help that business hire a lower level person and get rolling, and we roll out of the business. So it's a model that's proven to work.
So John, I am curious, there's this term, strong board, strong company. Is that always the case?
I would say predominantly yes. I think having an engaged and an independent board is in a lot of ways, the bedrock of creating value. Having the right domain knowledge and skills and industry experience on the board is really important to build value, because the board is really setting the strategic direction of the company and helping institute a framework for allocating capital and doing things of that nature. So even if you have great operators and you have a great management team, if they're not going in the right direction, if they're not investing in the right assets and in the right markets and in the right human capital, it's going to be tough to be successful.
And I just want everyone to know, I'm not ignoring Mr. Mallour. We are going to bring the lawyer, the legal side of this in very soon. But Sean, I need to ask you, have you experienced in the past, you don't have to say any names, where you saw a rubber stamp board and that was a red flag?
Yeah, unfortunately, that tends to be, more often than not. And, when I see that, what happens is, it's great to have a board, but when people actually go through the due diligence, which I know we're going to get to, and they look through, the board minutes, it's pretty obvious if it's a functioning board or not. And to John's point, strong corporate governance, it's the bedrock of a company.
I'm going to say thank you. I appreciate all of you being here. And remember, this is just the first of several in a series that are going to take place this year on private equity. And we look forward to seeing you all again. So I'll see you there.